Let the contest begin. Let me explain the rules first. The humorous speech contest will consist of a series of timed 5 to 7 minute speeches that will be judged by a panel of judges. The contestants and judges have been certified their eligibility. The contest chair and the chief judge have confirmed the eligibility of the contestants and the judges. Today, in order to have a distraction-free environment for our contestants, I ask you to cooperate in the following items. First, please check that your microphone is on mute, as well as place all cell phones or other devices that make audible noises either off or on silent. No photography of the contestants is allowed during the contestant speeches. Recording is allowed only if the contestant and the contest chair have given their approval in advance. Please do not create screenshot photos or audio recordings of any presentation today, or post them to any social media platform without obtaining speakers' permission. Once the contest has begun, members of the audience are asked to refrain from leaving and or re-entering the room. If you must leave, please do so during the time of silence between contestant speeches. Everyone in attendance is welcome to view the contest by gallery and or speaker view at their own choice. As a contest chair, I have briefed all the contestants, and all contestants are in the Zoom right now. We are ready to proceed with the contest. Mr. Chief Judge, have all the contest officials have been briefed, and are we ready to proceed with the contest?
All of the officials have been briefed, and we are ready to proceed.
Thank you. And today, timer use Toastmasters international signals green, yellow, and red. At 5 minutes, it flashes to green, 6 minutes, yellow, and 7 minutes flash to red, and remains red until the speaker finishes his or her speaking. And in order to allow the judges time to mark their judging forms, we'll have a 1 minute of silence after each contestant's speech, and we have silence after the last contestant's speech until all the ballots are collected. And timer will flash green after 1 minute passed each speaker to start the next speech. The speaking order for the contestant was determined earlier by having a contestant draw for position. The order for the speaking will be: Contestant 1, Gay Halliburton, Gay Halliburton. Contestant 2, Mary Dunn, Mary Dunn. Contestant 3, Heidi Lee, Heidi Lee. Contestant 4, Wayne Good, Wayne Good. Contestant 5, Christine England, Christine England. Each contestant will be introduced only by his or her name in the title of the speech. I will then repeat the title of the speech and the contestant's name. The first contestants, please now proceed to the staging area. Subsequent contestants will proceed to the staging area during the 1 minute of silence. All contestants may remain in room during the contest. Are there any questions from contestants or audience? No. If not, the humorous speech contest will now begin. The first speaker, Gay Halliburton, the great almighty Toastmaster, the great almighty Toastmaster, Gay Halliburton.
Doc, I think I've got it. What are your symptoms? Heart palpitations, profuse perspiration, nausea, and a reoccurring nightmare. Tell me about your nightmare. Contest master, fellow Toastmasters, and welcome guest. Every night I go to sleep and I dream about the great almighty Toastmaster. The great almighty Toastmaster is the most spectacular speaker on the planet. People from every nation, tongue, and generation yearn to hear him speak. And when he speaks, audiences are mesmerized and spellbound from beginning to end. I have this undeniable desire to get to the great almighty Toastmaster. So I asked Siri, my virtual phone assistant, how do I get to the great almighty Toastmaster? Her reply, follow pathways. I was confused by her answer because she didn't tell me which pathway to take. So I quickly assessed my needs and I determined that dynamic leadership was the pathway for me because a decision was needed and leaders make decisions. As I was traveling along the path, I came across a sign that read, Museum of Inspiration, inspirational quotes and videos. I entered the museum and I was greeted by Tiffany, the tour guide. Tiffany said, you'll be part of the tour starting in 15 minutes. While we were waiting, Tiffany suggested that we break the ice by telling a little bit about ourselves. As it neared my turn to speak, I began to hyperventilate. I broke out into a sweat. My heart started to palpitate. My stomach started to churn, such that I was barely able to whisper my name. Another lady in the group introduced herself as Eva. She said she was an unemployed speech evaluator. When we started the tour, Eva said to me, you don't look like you feel well, so I'll walk with you in case you need something. As we were touring, Eva negatively critiqued every video we saw. She just went on, she would say stuff like, that speech wasn't just monotone, it was toneless. Or, wasn't that just a big ball of confusion? Wasn't he a stoic stone statue? The only thing that moved on him was his lips. She just went on and I just couldn't take it anymore. And finally I said, Eva, don't be so mean. She's like, I don't mean to be mean. Sometimes it's as if I don't have a brain. I guess that's why they call me Eva, the evil evaluator, and why I can't find a job. We finished touring the museum, and as we were leaving, I said, hey, Eva, I'm on my way to see the great almighty Toastmaster. Perhaps if you go with me, he'll grant you the power to become an encouraging, effective evaluator, and it will help you to find a job. He can't help me, but I could use the getaway, so I'll go. We continued traveling down the pathway, and we soon came to a place believed to be the office of the great almighty Toastmaster. We walked in, said, hello, we're here to see the great almighty Toastmaster. The receptionist said, you're here to see who? The great almighty Toastmaster. She chuckled. There's no such person. I said, sure there is. I read about him on the internet, and they can't put anything on the internet that isn't true. I said, can I speak with the person in charge? They'll know who I'm talking about. She led us to an office down the hall. We walk in. I said, hello, we're here to see the great almighty Toastmaster in hopes that he might grant us some wishes. The man behind the desk said, hello, my name is Mr. Richard Peck, and I'm the president of Toastmasters International. I'm sorry, but there's no such person. I said, sure there is. I read about him on the internet. They can't put anything on the internet that isn't true. Mr. Peck said, perhaps I can help you. What is it that you need? Well, I need the gift of great public speaking, and my friend Eva, the evil evaluator, wants to become an encouraging, effective evaluator. Mr. Peck looks at me and says, great public speaking is not a gift, it's a goal. And a goal is not realized through abracadabra magic. It takes desire, determination, dedication, and discipline. But I need courage and confidence. Mr. Peck says, whether you think you can or you can't, you're right. Prepare yourself with practice, practice, practice. To the evil evaluator, he said, if you want to become an encouraging, effective evaluator, you must give feedback and not criticism. And how you say something is just as important as what you say. As we were leaving, Mr. Peck said, if you continue along pathways, you will surely get to where you want to go. The doc looks at me and says, do you have an event coming up that requires you to speak in front of a crowd? I say, why, yes. I'm participating in the District 63 Humorous Speech Contest tonight. Doc says, I see. Well, you're right. You've got it. You've got glossophobia. Glossophobia is the fear of public speaking. It is the #1 fear in America, followed by death. And according to Seinfeld, you would rather be lying in the casket than giving the eulogy or giving a speech tonight. Contest Master.
Yes, now 1 minute passed. Mary, can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you see the timer?
Yes.
Okay. Mary done. Gracefully. Gracefully. Mary done.
You know the expression growing old gracefully? Well, I'm doing just that. Well, the growing old part. Gracefully, if you call forgetfulness, failing faculties, and a fading physique graceful, then yes, I am. And you see, I wrote this speech at the last minute, and I'll bet you think that I'm a procrastinator, don't you? Well, I am, but that's not why I wrote the speech at the last minute. The reason I wrote the speech at the last minute is because I'm forgetful. In fact, I really caused myself some embarrassment a couple of months ago. It was my nephew's birthday, and I was so proud of myself. I remembered the date. I remembered to buy a gift. I even remembered to buy a card, and I wrote his name on the envelope, to Jackson. Now, I had to be at work that day early, and so I went up to Jackson and I said, Jackson, Auntie Mary has to go to work, so I wanted to wish you a happy birthday, though, and I wanted to give you your card. Now, Jackson can be a little trickster, and Jackson said, Auntie Mary, it's not my birthday. And I said, oh, okay. Well, then we'll just give all your presents to your brother. To which he said, no. So I handed him the card and I left. Later that evening, I was scrolling through Facebook and I saw the event, Jace's birthday. Oh, I was absolutely mortified. Now, luckily, his brother's birthday was a few weeks later, and I got to save face a little bit because I actually wrote to Jackson on Jace's card. I'm sorry, yes. And see, I'm already forgetting. And so we got to have a good laugh at Auntie Mary's expense. Now, to add insult to injury, not only am I forgetful, but my faculties are failing. And my sense of smell started to go several years ago. And if you're a grandmother, that's a great thing. Changing diapers is no problem at all. So I also started to notice that my hearing was becoming a problem. But my hearing was a little bit more easy to disguise. So those of you that don't know me, might not know that I really love to talk. So if you're talking to me and I'm not talking back and I'm just smiling a lot and nodding my head, that's a sure sign that I didn't hear a word you said. And I will sometimes even look contemplative for you just to change it up a bit. Now, vision is a little harder to hide. So I was coming home from vacation a couple of years ago, and I had been driving all night and I was tired. It was raining, and I looked into my rearview mirror, blue lights. The officer stepped up to my car. Ma'am, do you have any idea why I stopped you? No, sir. Well, we've been looking for drunk drivers because it is Memorial Day weekend and you are weaving. Oh, officer, I have been driving all night long. I don't see very well in the rain. It's dark and I'm only 20 minutes from home. And I have been sober for 5 years. All right, well, just get home safely, which I did. What I didn't tell him was that I'm supposed to wear glasses, but you guessed it, I forgot them. Now, you know that I'm forgetful and that my faculties are failing, but I've also got this fading physique. In fact, I'm getting a little bit frail. Okay, well, maybe that's an exaggeration. I mean, I was at my son's house recently, sitting on a footstool, swinging a sledgehammer and prying up nails out of the floor with a crowbar. The only problem was, sitting in that stool, my butt was lower than my knees. That should never happen. Hey, can somebody help me get up here? Now, it's not just the activities that are fading. It's also the physical, it is my physical appearance. I mean, I think I'm holding up fairly well. I don't have too many grays, but I have to say that the face that I see in the mirror is not the face that I saw even 5 years ago. My chin has become plural, and gravity is winning the battle for, okay, gravity's winning the war. And full-length mirror brings it to a whole nother level. I mean, I wish this part of my physique would fade. And what the heck is with this underarm dingle dangle? So you might ask yourself, why am I sharing all of this with you? Well, I shared it for several reasons. First, to warn those of you that might be younger than I am, guess what you've got to look forward to. And for those of you who might be my age or older, you're not alone. And the third reason, there was another reason, but I forgot it.
One minute passed. Heidi, can you hear me?
I can hear you, but I'm looking for the timer.
You're looking for the timer.
Because he keep on jumping from one page to another. Okay, I found him.
You found it?
Yeah.
Heidi Lee. All the lies my mother taught me. All the lies my mother taught me. Heidi Lee.
Raise your hand if you are a parent. Keep your hands up if you ever told your children that they are special and beautiful. You are a liar. I have seen some of your kids. And I know that you saw mine too. We are all liars. Madame Contest Chair and fellow liars. I wonder if lying is one of the skill set to be a parent. Take my mother as an example. I found that she has lied to me for over 1,000 times for whatever reason they were. For all the lies she told me, there were 3 significant lies that I will never forget, and I want to share with you today. The first one, I call it the unforgettable lie. For those of you who knew me, know that I'm afraid of animals. I'm scared of dogs, kids, children, like animal, snakes, chicken, literally anything that is living things that is not a human being. Maybe some human beings. When I was young, I actually loved small animals, especially lizards. I thought that they're cute and gorgeous until my loving mother told me about the nature of a lizard. She said, when you attack a lizard, somehow the tail will detach from the body, and somehow the tail will get into my ear. What? A tail will get into my ear? Can you imagine how scared I was? Wait a minute. Was that why Uncle Robert was deaf? Was that why he was wearing his hearing aid? Ugh, I have been wearing my headphone for a whole month. The second one, I call it the organic lie. I'm sure I'm not the only one that hear this common lie. Had your mother ever told you that when you swallow an apple seed, an apple tree will grow from your head? If that is true, for all the apple seed that I swallow, I should be selling organic apple in the farmer's market. She also told me that when you swallow watermelon seed, a watermelon plant will come out from my tummy. At one point, I was staring at my tummy, panicking, waiting for the watermelon plant to come out. If I follow the same logic, I would be swallowing pennies, dimes, nickels, quarters. Hopefully, one day, somehow for my body will grow a money tree. The third one, I call it the "are you kidding me" lie. I can't believe that my mother actually told me that melted ice cream is poisonous. I wonder if she made it up or it was the lie from her mother. When I was young, I watched news and I heard people commit suicide from jumping from a tall building or jumping in front of a running train. I always wonder how come they don't eat melted ice cream. And as an adult, I realized that melted ice cream is milk. When it comes to suicide, melted ice cream, death by milk. What am I saying? For good or for bad, there's always a reason for a parent to lie to their children. Now that I'm a parent myself, I definitely lie. I had to lie to survive raising children. The best that I want to share with you today was when my kids were still very young. They could not read yet. I took them to the toy store and they will bring me the biggest Lego that they can find. And I will pretend that I was very excited. And I say, oh my God, that is awesome. I love it. Oh, let's see. And I will turn the back of the toys. And then I will pretend that I was very upset. Oh no, he said, display only, not for sale. And then another time I have to lie that they were not old enough. My kid asked, how old am I supposed to be, Mommy? Baby, how old are you now? "Hmm, 3. Oh, so sorry. It said for children 8 years and older. You are not old enough. Hmm. And then I put it back to the shelf. Don't laugh. It works. It works every time until they can read. Damn education. Do you know that there is a fine print to become a parent? They said you are allowed to lie. It's okay. That's how you survive. We have to do whatever it takes. If it works, we do it. Looks like lying is going to be continuous from generation to generation. From all the lies that my mother told me to all the lies I told my children. I wonder my lack of lies will pass on all the way to my grandchildren or even great-grandchildren. I do hope so, because that was one of my best. Can one be proud of a lie? I would be lying if I say it wasn't. Parent, now that you hear my speech, raise your hand if you are not going to lie again. Oh, I just saw one hand. Liar. Madam Contest Chair.
1 minute passed. Wayne, can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you see a timer?
Just a moment. Yes, I can.
Okay. Wayne, good. The singular gender neutral third person personal pronoun problem. The singular gender neutral third person personal pronoun problem. Wayne, good.
For most of my life, I detested grammar only slightly less than Brussels sprouts. However, these days, I find it fascinating. I mean, grammar, that is, not Brussels sprouts. Contest chair. Friends, and anyone who thinks that being grammarian is cruel and unusual punishment. Like it or not, we must deal with the problems of grammar, including the singular, gender neutral, third person, personal pronoun problem. Simply stated, the problem is this. What pronoun should you use when you could be referring to a man or a woman? This is not an easy choice. For example, when the Toastmaster is nervous, blank may fidget. This is not an easy choice. Deciding which pronoun to use is as complicated and potentially disastrous as deciding whether to snip the red wire or the blue wire when defusing a bomb. For centuries, English used he as the singular, gender neutral, third person, personal pronoun. However, in the 70s, people began to complain that this was sexist, that using he implied the pronoun referred to a man. They wanted the world to know that a woman was just as capable as any man of being the antecedent of a pronoun. But they overlooked the fact that he is also sexist against men. Women have their own personal pronoun, she, but men must share their personal pronoun, he, with a gender neutral case. So if you want to use a pronoun that refers specifically to a woman, you use she. If you want to use a pronoun that refers specifically to a man, Too bad, so sad, you can't. The only way to give men and women grammatical equality is to stop using he as the singular, gender neutral, third person, personal pronoun. The problem is, what should we use? The obvious choice might seem to be it. It's gender neutral. Let's try it in a test case. When a Toastmaster is nervous, it may fidget and shuffle its papers. If it sees its way clear, it may attempt to flee before someone forces it to speak. Sounds like a nature documentary. The Toastmaster of the day may be forced to use a tranquilizer dart to prevent its escape. It will not work. Perhaps they. It's also gender neutral. True, but they is plural, not singular. Unless the antecedent of the pronoun happens to have multiple personality disorder, they is grammatically incorrect. The most common suggestion is to use the phrases he or she, him or her, and his or her. That sounds like it's going to be complicated, but let's take it for a test drive. When a Toastmaster is nervous, he or she may fidget. If he or she sees that his or her way is clear, he or she may attempt to flee before he or she is forced to speak. Well, that just rolls right off the tongue. And it's still sexist. He comes before she. We would need grammar checkers to balance the use of he or she with she or he, her or him, and her or his. And what about conversation? You'd need to use a scorecard to balance using he or she and she or him. Life is too short for grammatical gymnastics. Now, some have suggested shortening even further to he/she, him/her, and his/hers. Really? I mean, he/she, she/he. Isn't there already enough violence in the world? This is not going to work. Now, some have suggested shortening he or she even further to s/he or s in parentheses he. How do you even pronounce this? He, and it's sexist. Men must share their entire pronoun, but women get the letter S all to themselves. These choices are so messy that you might think the simplest thing would be to invent a word. Would you believe that's been tried? Not once, not twice, not 3 times, but according to Wikipedia, and if you can't trust Wikipedia, I mean, who can you trust? It's been tried no less than 43 times, including such gems as G, pe, per, yo, co, and thon. Okay, if at first you don't succeed, try again. However, if at 43rd you don't succeed, just give up. Like so many problems in life, there isn't a good solution. We will need to choose the lesser of, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 43, 48 evils. And that choice clearly is they. Yes, it's grammatically incorrect. But I mean, seriously, given all the problems with all the alternatives, merely being wrong is not that bad. And more important, right here, right now, we can begin to change the world, or at least the English-speaking portion of it. Resolve to use they as the singular, gender-neutral, third-person personal pronoun. When you're a grammarian, enforce it in your club. As Toastmasters begin to use they in their civilian lives, its usage will spread around the world until finally, at long last, men and women will have grammatical equality. Madam Toastmaster.
1 minute passed. Christine, can you hear me?
I can.
We have 15 more seconds.
15 more seconds. Sorry. Yes, now it's ready. And Christine, can you see a timer?
Yes, I can.
Yes. Christine Ingram, the levels of pet ownership. The levels of pet ownership. Christine Ingram.
Thank you, Contest Master. Last year, my husband and I made a really big decision. We decided to get a cat. Now, that might not sound like a big decision to many of you, but for us, it was huge. You see, a few years prior, we had accidentally gotten the hardest pet to own. This pet almost ruined all pet ownership for us. Today, I'm going to give you 5 levels of pet ownership. So that way you move up in a nice methodical fashion and don't just jump straight to level 5 like we did. The first and easiest pet to get is a pet fish. Other than a pet rock, it doesn't get much easier than a pet fish. You basically just have to clean the bowl and do this wrist action once a day, and that's it. The problem with the fish, though, is there's not a very high payoff. You basically look at the fish, it looks back at you, and that's it. That's why I would recommend moving straight on to level 2 of pet ownership, a cat. I have had my cat now for almost a year, and I can tell you it is just as magical as everyone says it's going to be. It's basically as easy as owning a fish, but you do have one added responsibility now of a litter box. There are, however, loopholes to the litter box. For example, you can be lazy like we were and get an automatic litter box that scoops itself. You can even take it one step further, like I did, and get pregnant. Then you're completely taken off litter box duty for 9 whole months. I even had the baby now, and I'm still getting out of litter box duty. The difference from a fish, though, is a cat has extremely high payoff. For example, the other day I was just standing there and my cat Dahlia walked up and brushed against my leg. It was awesome. That's how I know she cares about me. She could also possibly be trying to trip me, but we're going to say that after a year, she probably loves me at this point. Now I get it. Not everyone apparently loves cats as much as I do. I semi-accept that fact. If you are one of these people, move on to level 3 of pet ownership and get a dog. Dogs are great. They're so much fun. They're loving and playful. I love dogs, but they are a lot more responsibility. Unlike a cat, they both want and need your undivided attention 24/7. My sister has 3 amazing large dogs, but anytime she leaves the house, they manage to go through all 5 stages of grief. Once they finally get to acceptance that they alone are going to have to make it in this dog-eat-dog world, she comes home with milk or whatever it was she left to get, and they have the best day ever. Now, moving on to level 4, we're starting to get a little bit more interesting. Starting to get a little harder, but not quite at that hardest level yet. The level 4 pet that you can own is a tiger. Now, I might not look like someone who knows about tiger ownership. However, I know what happens in the hit Netflix documentary Tiger King. Therefore, I am a tiger owning expert. It's essentially just like owning a cat. The main difference is a cat might think they're in charge, but a tiger is legitimately in charge. There are also some lesser known hazards that you pick up from the show. For example, you might lose your arm one day. Just apparently happens. The good thing is, you're okay with it because it made the tiger happy. So I guess that's a win. Also, your ego is going to grow to preposterous levels to where your head will barely fit through a normal sized door frame. Then last and most important, you will at some point accidentally join a cult. You will only realize that you were in the cult once it is far too late and you were embedded in the culture. Those are just a few things to keep in mind before you get that first tiger cub and hopefully high quality cage. Now, moving on to level 5, the hardest pet to own, the pet that almost ruined everything for me. The hardest pet to own is sourdough starter. It is terrible trying to take care of this tiny little creature. We started like most innocent pet owners do. We said, hey, we like bread. We should get sourdough starter. We then found a woman with a 40-year-old sourdough starter. Now knowing what I know, I would call her an expert zoologist. She gave us some of her starter along with the most delicious bread I have ever eaten. We took in this starter and started taking care of it. We even gave it a name, Thor. But before we knew it, Thor became the real-life Tamagotchi determined to ruin our lives. Did you know with sourdough starter, you constantly have to move it from point A to point B and feed it based on its very strict schedule? Before you know it, you're expected to make 3 loaves of bread every 5 days. What are 2 people supposed to do with 3 loaves of bread every 5 days? It's insane. What didn't help the matter was that every loaf of bread that we made was terrible. It was dense and gooey. Somehow it was also stale, coming straight out of the oven. But I consider myself to be a pretty decent baker. So now Thor had me questioning my baking abilities. No, that was it. After a few weeks of that, we made the very tough yet pretty simple decision to take Thor, son of Odin, and pour him down the kitchen drain. It was tough, and PETA might get called on me, but it had to be done. That's why I'm begging you all today. If you're thinking about getting a pet, do yourself a favor. Start with a nice, easy pet. Get yourself a cat or a dog or a tiger. Because I can guarantee you, in the past year of owning my cat, I haven't been tempted to pour her down the kitchen drain even once. Thank you.
Now the results are already in. Today, there are no time disqualifications. Are you ready to hear the results? The 3rd place winner is Wayne Good. The 2nd place, Christine England. The 1st place goes to Heidi Lee. Congratulations. And we will send you a 1st place, 2nd place, 3rd place winner certificate by email later, and District sends you a trophy for 1st, 2nd, and 3rd place. Congratulations, everyone. Now, let's give a big round of applause to all the contestants who competed today. Now the contest is adjourned. I return control to the Jason Croran for the closing